The What to Read Next podcast helps you build a TBR of future favorite books. In each episode, Lauren and Maine interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show's for you. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, it's so lovely to be here.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Well, I've been up to a lot of writing. My name is Ashley Poston, by the way. I am the author of The Dead Romantics. I am also the author of a few YA books that you might or might not have heard about, including the Geekarella series. And The Dead Romantics is my first foray into adult romance. So I'm very excited.
So let's chat about what made you decide that you want to write an adult romance. And based on reading The Dead Romantics, I know you're a romance reader because you give us, as a romance reader, give us a lot of little tidbits, a lot of so tell us what made you decide I need to try adult romance now.
Oh, I've always been a fan of adult romance, and that was something that me and my agent years and years and years ago, we were talking about when I was first starting my career. She was like, what do you want to write for? And I was like, well, I really love YA, but my heart's also in adult romance because that's my bread and butter. I devour adult romance, especially adult supernatural romance. There is a niche there. I think I've read every ghost romance known to mankind. And so I'm not even going to pretend like I reinvented a wheel with The Dead Romantics. No, I just took every wheel that I liked and I slapped it on my train and choo choo, let's go. but yeah, so I'm very excited for The Dead Romantics. It is technically my first adult romance coming out, and it's not going to be my last, hopefully. And I really hope a lot of people enjoy it.
I hope so too. So let's chat about the elevator pitch of The Dead Romantics, what it's all about. And you give us a hint, it's a ghost romance, but it is and it isn't. So.
Well, okay, so The Dead Romantics is about a young woman who no longer believes in love, who finds herself haunted by the ghost of her very sexy and very recently deceased editor. Because, oh, by the way, she's a ghostwriter for a very famous romance novelist. So she has to finish the last book on her ghostwriting contract, and she can't because she no longer believes in love. And her recently deceased editor might, just help her out a little bit,
And she's back at home because she lost her father, and yes, she has to plan his very quirky funeral.
Very quirky funeral. So Florence has a really fun, really wonderful family. She's from a small town in South Carolina, fictional town in South Carolina called Marymount. And her family owns a funeral home, and I modeled them after kind of Morticia and Gomez Adams, because they're just they are the penultimate love story, right? They are the parent couple that everyone aspires to be. So I was like, I want to write my own Adams family. So yeah, that's what I did. And Florence has to return home to her hometown to say goodbye to her late father. And he has a laundry list of things he wants done for his funeral. And it is about her getting all of that together while trying to finish this last book about love and coping with the grief of losing her father. So in The Dead Romantics, I explore a lot about love and grief and how they are very, very similar. Mm-hmm. I think WandaVision said that love is grief enduring. No, grief is love enduring, and I really like that quote. And that's kind of what The Dead Romantics is. It's just a look at the different kinds of love and how love will get you through anything, maybe not the romantic kind of love, but familial love, friendships, that kind of thing, and the love for yourself and what you do. And yeah, I really like it.
I really love it. I love Florence family. I love the way they accepted her gift. She's like, you're seeing a ghost, and they're like, okay, invite the ghost. They cannot see the ghost, but she can, and being able to have that relationship and be able to be supportive, no matter what, because Florence was like, I don't want to come back to the town, and they were like, okay, well, go visit you. Yeah,
I wanted to make the family as supportive and wonderful as possible, and so the best way to do that is just to make them love each other. It was just so easy, really.
Yes. And I have to say, this is like a very niche, and this is like a small detail that it spoke my heart. I live in Jersey City. I live in New York City for about 14 years. And so you mentioned taking the path home, and I was like, oh my gosh, you don't know how many years I've taken the path home. It's like, it spoke to my heart because it's like such a niche experience. Like, it's just not everyone lives in New York City, takes the subway. They might take the path, you know.
Right? Like I also lived in New York City for a bit. I never lived in New Jersey though. That was the one thing that I told myself that I would not do. But I have had to visit friends who did live in Jersey City. So I was like, you know what? I am going to make their pain my inspiration.
Yes. Yeah. So I was very glad when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, she spoke my heart.
It's like a special kind of hell. It's like the PATH train is like the one train that I would think you would see a ghost just trapped there. Like, I'm never leaving.
Yeah, it's actually nicer than the subway. They improved the trains. Actually, I lived there for 14 years, so they improved the trains. Like after my second year, we got the like nice blue trains and stuff.
Ooh.
But it's like it takes forever, you know. Like it's just like it just takes forever.
It takes so long, and you're trapped underground, and you're like, well, if something happens,
underwater because you're crossing the Hudson River.
Yeah. So you're like, well, if something happens, I'm just gonna be here for the rest of eternity.
Yeah. So I love this. All right. So you mentioned the romance that spoke your heart. So can you tell us some ghost romance, or what were some of your gateway drugs, like gateway romance drug, you know?
So this is gonna date me a whole lot, but my gateway romance, like ghost romance into like adult ghost romances, was actually a YA by Meg Cabot called the Mediator series.
Yes.
Like I was a teenager when I found them, like a young teenager, and like, man, they were my candy. I loved them so much, and they influenced a lot of like what kind of ghost stories I liked, and like how I wanted to see like a happy ending for a ghost story, because like most ghost romances, spoiler, they don't have happy endings because one's dead and like one's not. So whenever like I talk to people about dead romantics, they're like, that doesn't have a happy ending. And I'm like, is it in the romance section? Yes, then absolutely it has a happy ending. I'm not going to do that to you. Absolutely not. So yeah, no, the Mediator series was absolutely my gateway. Like it's aged interestingly. Like there are some hijinks that don't work, but overall it's still like a really fun read years and years later.
Oh, that's so cool. And yes, I did read the end of your book before before going back. I was like halfway through. I was like, I don't know if this is a happy ending. I just need to read the end.
Okay, that's a mood. I always read the last page of any book first, just to make sure it like ends a certain way. And even if it doesn't, I will prepare myself for it. I do not want like to get to the end of a book and like realize it's not a happy ending. And I'm like, no, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah, I need to know. I know for certain. I know there's a promise. I know there's a reason what's called romance. It has a happy ending, but I don't trust sometimes, and I don't
trust people.
I don't trust the marketing. I was like, I just need to know, like, this is gonna be a happy ending for sure, or it's just like gonna give me like the feels. So yeah, so I did read the ending, and then I was like, I was pleasantly surprised it was a happy ending.
You know, I do not fault you for that. I also do that. So like, I think a lot of people do that, but they just won't admit to it.
Yeah, so good. So do you have any books you recommend our listeners to pick up?
Yes. So right now I am reading The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. She's also a YA turning adult author. She is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I love her adult debut. It is so soft, it's so whimsical. It's basically Diana Wynne Jones meets TJ Klune. It is the exact kind of soft, wonderful, warm blanket fantasy, like contemporary fantasy that I like yearn for. I also like the other book that I highly recommend is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madana. It is so good. It is so good. It is one of my favorite. It definitely has like that India Holton feel to it. And it is fantastic. I love all of Sangu's works. And this is just, she's just shining in this. It's so good.
I love these recommendations and I'm totally picking them up. So
yes, do. And then tell me what you think about them.
I will.
It's okay if you don't like them. It's okay. Not everyone has to like everything.
It is like I'm playing the fantasy paranormal world, like, because I feel like the world right now is just like weird. So I'm like, I just need an escape, and so that's what's been working for me. I'm surprised that that's working so well, because in the past it's been a struggle, but this is like, it's like I'm gobbling up. Like I'm like, ooh, paranormal, light paranormal, rom-com paranormal.
Same. Like anything with like any kind of like ghost or like magic or like give me vampires, give me werewolves, give me Howl's Moving Castle just retold in a different lens. Just give it all to me.
Yes, that's what's working right now. So more to come. But yeah, so Ashley, tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at Ash Poston, Poston. You can also find me on Instagram at Hey Ash Poston, because someone is sitting on my name. And then you can find me on TikTok also at Hey Ash Poston, because I figured Hey Ash Poston sounds a little like more tongue-in-cheek than just Ash Poston. So
I love that. Thank you, Ashley, for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For a list of books mentioned and other romance recommendations, please visit watchrenextblog.com. Did you know you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libra.fm, you can pick up more than 250,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company, you know the name, but you'll be part of a different story, one that supports the local community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to squeeze more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libra.fm app while you do your chores, walk the dog, relax at home. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen next, check out recommendations from people who know the best booksellers. The Watch Your Next podcast has a special offer for our listeners. Get your audiobooks on Libra.fm for the price of one with your first month membership. Use code WhatYouReadNext. The offer is valid only for new members in Canada and the US. The Watch Your Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Please visit frolic.media/podcast to discover new shows to tune in. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.